The silent king sat among them, enveloped by whispers of expectation and faux familial warmth that belied their true intentions. In a gathering orchestrated for unity, tension simmered beneath the surface, foretold by the cold light that illuminated the room with an unnatural stillness. Eleanor had always been perceived as the impoverished member of the family, the one who clung to remnants of a past not gilded by fortune or fame. Yet unbeknownst to them all, she held a secret vast as the night sky, waiting patiently with the quiet dignity of one who knew the world would underestimate her. She was not a woman bound by the ephemeral pleasures of material wealth, but a silent architect of her own fortune, $22 million hidden away like an undiscovered realm of riches. Her silence was her cipher, the veil that shielded her true strength and cunning. In a mere moment of folly, that veil was lifted, the revelation spilling into the air with the potency of a long-forgotten prophecy. Eyes widened, mouths fell agape, and the family, like moths to a sudden igniting flame, drew closer, eyes hungry with the promises of inheritance and unchecked greed. There are those among us who operate on a frequency that sings in tune with the darker aspects of human desire. For them, Eleanor's newfound wealth was not merely a windfall. It was a call to arms, a beacon that drew them inexorably into a web of manipulation and insidious charm. How easily, you may ask, can a familial bond twist under the weight of avarice? Consider how quickly affection morphs into calculating engagement, each word now laden with insincerity, as the applause of her financial success echoed throughout the room like a symphony composed of deceit. "My dear Eleanor, however did you amass such a fortune?" the question was asked, with a sugary coat barely concealing the poison beneath. It symbolized the stark reality that love, when shadowed by the allure of wealth, reveals its fickle nature. Eleanor stood resolute, a silent warrior amid a battleground of mirrored visages, reflecting only what they chose, to see an opportunity for gain at any cost. As the fabric of family ties strained under the weight of unspoken rivalries, Eleanor began to comprehend the gravity of her position. Now they clamored around her throne of calculated silence, beseeching explanations, concealing barbed inquiries within loving gestures. But make no mistake, beneath their geniality lay the chilling certainty of a truth too many ignore: the void of human empathy when wealth becomes the lodestar that guides intentions. In the clamor of their misguided celebration of Eleanor's fiscal triumph, they failed to see the precariousness of their position. Like shadows cast in the cold light, they mistook fragility for steadfastness, forgetting that their triumphs were born of her silent endurance. Each assumed silence was a surrender, but perhaps the truth eludes them. Still, sometimes silence is strategy. The affair was a masquerade, and as the evening waned, Eleanor retreated into herself, considering each familial interplay, and whispered sotto voce as yet another page in the saga she would soon rewrite. Hers was an inner world of shifting paradigms, where loyalty weighed against betrayal, and where she would prove that in the landscape of heartbreak some kings become sharper and more refined within the crucible of silence. Arching beneath the quiet chaos, she continued to watch a silent archaeologist, unearthing the true framework of her societal position. It is within those unguarded moments that the betrayal of ambitions paved in the family's collective gasp reveals itself. Here lay the sharp and bitter juxtaposition: a love professed only when tied to the riches that could be reaped from it. Eleanor's ordeal would be both crucible and chrysalis, the point from which the story pivots from silent subjugation to one of unyielding empowerment. Her absence from their revealed truth, like the reverse of a polished coin, was where true wealth resided, the wealth of moral fortitude and resilience garlanded in dignity. As their laughter filled the void, her silence left Eleanor understood that power lay not in the coins clutched tightly in chest, but in the quiet decisions she would make, the iron resolve she would forge, to shape her destiny unshackled from the bindings of familial grasp. Her silence was a dagger unsheathed, and to each of them she left words unsaid, a declaration forming in the shadows. She mistook quiet for cowardice, but some queens do not roar. They whisper, and then they conquer. The revelation of Eleanor's secret fortune rippled through the familial web, turning warm smiles into sharp inquisitions and casual greetings into pointed interrogations. Faces that once wore gentle, genteel warmth now displayed a glint of avarice, and Eleanor found herself at the center of a maelstrom she had never anticipated. The family's mask of camaraderie slipped away to reveal faces knotted with envy, disbelief, etched on each countenance as they encircled her, their eyes searching for the riches she had seemingly conjured from thin air. Their mouths spun narratives of disbelief, each family member vying for their version of her story, one that fit their perceived understanding of wealth and worth. They whispered among themselves, insinuating that Eleanor's fortune was undeserved, a fluke, an anomaly. They couldn't fathom how she always, the quiet guardian of frugality and commonplace, could harbor such a secret without their notice. This was the true face of love, with strings attached, unmasking itself as conditional and transactional at the prospect of financial windfall. Every word they uttered seemed less a query born of curiosity and more a subtle accusation, a demand for explanation and perhaps justification. As Eleanor stood amongst them, a faint smile playing on her lips, she realized that her wealth had become the prism, refracting the unspoken prejudices lurking within the older branches of the family. Conversations that once flitted around reminiscing childhood tales and shared memories carried an undercurrent of judgment as they all but accused her of deceit by stealth, of hiding her true worth beneath the veneer of simplicity. In that charged atmosphere, Eleanor began to see the strands of jealousy twined with incredulity, as accusations danced lightly on their tongues like bitter breadcrumbs leading back to entitlement's door. Their condescension was poorly veiled, and it hovered around them, clinging to every syllable like the smoke of a dying fire. To them, her wealth was a puzzle piece that did not belong in the neatly framed picture they had painted of her, of their family, of themselves. In that moment, the scales of familial affection seemed to teeter on the precipice of Eleanor's newfound financial revelation. Her family's disbelief was tangible, an almost palpable barrier between them and an awakening that Eleanor could feel building within her. This was the moment where her silence began to burgeon into an awareness, one that allowed her to see the framework of her family's values. Material wealth was lauded above moral richness or the quiet accomplishments of a life well spent lived, not to impress, but to withstand the erosive forces of time and expectation. Stunned, yet steeled with an inner clarity, Eleanor began to understand that their reaction unveiled much about their priorities, casting a spotlight on an underbelly bespeaking a love contingent upon currency. Each skeptical glance and probing question became a lens through which Eleanor could view the rot creeping through the roots of her family tree. It was a hard truth, but one that would fortify her resolve. No longer wishing to play the role of the hapless subject of their overt criticisms and veiled insults, Eleanor began to internalize the experience as one of opportunity. What was initially a revelation intended to bring about joy and shared fortunes now became a transformative engine, propelling Eleanor towards introspection, towards a self-possession, forged not by the currency of materialism, but by the past richness of resilience. With controlled detachment, Eleanor remained silent, allowing the cacophony of familial greed and disbelief to wash over her without engaging. Her silence was an unyielding fortress, one where she could construct her path forward unencumbered by their expectations. It was her defiance, her newfound rebellion against the familial bonds weighted by material expectation. In the harsh light of monetary revelation, Eleanor saw her family for what they truly were, reflections of a society that had equated net worth with self-worth, even within the sanctuary of home and hearth. Over time, this realization would become Eleanor's guiding light, teaching her the invaluable lesson that true wealth was never in coin or paper, but in the strength of self-knowledge and the clarity of moral compass. As the conversation ebbed and flowed with tides of questioning, giving way to moments of hushed discussion, Eleanor quietly stepped back, retreating from the nexus of their demands. She vowed to herself that this would serve as the cornerstone of her newfound legacy, a life architected not on the shifting sands of familial acceptance, but on the unshakable foundation of dignity and integrity. Eleanor's resolve was now steeled with the formidable armor of her silent sacrifice, a tale woven from threads of perseverance, diligent labor, and a frugality that few could comprehend. Her journey was one of determination, navigating an unforgiving world where she had often been deemed invisible or insignificant. Yet it was precisely this unseen tenacity that allowed her to quietly amass a fortune unbeknownst to those who now circled her like vultures drawn to the scent of newfound wealth. Through the years, Eleanor had meticulously balanced her resources, making value-rich decisions that spoke to her enduring adaptability. She embodied resilience crafted under the duress of a world that had offered her nothing on a silver platter. From penny-pinching days to modest celebrations, Eleanor prioritized the essentials, often seeing past ephemeral luxuries that captivated her less discerning family. Her wealth accumulation was not the result of mere luck or accidental inheritance. It represented a lifetime of sacrifices, ethical gambling on her own capabilities, and an astute sense for worthwhile investments. The humility instilled in Eleanor from countless trials softened yet deepened her resolve, cultivating lessons of endurance and the realization that true wealth lay within. Those around her, namely the family blinded by materialism, would never grasp the depth of these sacrifices. They couldn't envision her lean years when a single indulgence seemed a world away. Eleanor's story was less about her amassed riches and more about the silent tribute to her unwavering perseverance. Her family's entitled vantage only further highlighted the contrast between Eleanor's laborious ascent and their instantaneous greed-laden aspirations. They saw only dollar signs, oblivious to the blood, sweat, and quiet determination that had sustained Eleanor through life's trials. It was this unyielding ethos that demarcated Eleanor's journey, a journey fueled by grit and sheer willpower, propelling her beyond the stereotypes they had so carelessly cast upon her. Empathy for Eleanor and her choices was layered with profound insight into the often ruthless dynamics of familial bonds under the strain of financial discourse. It was essential for anyone observing her story to understand the courage it took to silently withstand barriers to rebuild in solitude and to create a sanctuary of self-worth amidst chronic disbelief and ridicule. Yet, as Eleanor's inward reflections vividly illustrated, entitlement seldom leads to understanding. This was a lesson her family members were yet to comprehend. In viewing her family's reactions, the viewer could discern the toxic nature of entitlement, a misguided belief that wealth owed them some form of indulgence without reciprocity. Eleanor represented a contrasting paradigm, a beacon of humility amid the cacophonic demands, drowning mutual respect and shared support. Simultaneously, Eleanor's silent narrative challenged the societal misconception that wealth is the harbinger of happiness. In its truest form, Eleanor's wealth emerged from inner strength, the kind focused on self-exploration rather than relentless pursuit of external validation. Her stoic journey paved a pathway not only of financial success, but also reflective empowerment. It was a testament to her unyielding belief in action over complaint, in building over demanding, a life she consciously chose despite the world's expectation to resign to lesser attainments. To outsiders, Eleanor's lifestyle might have appeared mundane, her home modestly adorned, lacking the ostentation one might expect of someone with considerable means. Yet within these quiet choices lay Eleanor's profound understanding of life's value, the awareness that what endures is often unseen yet deeply felt. It was the nurture she provided others in community efforts, the unseen support to those in dire need, a reflection of wealth humanity truly requires. This perspective reframes opulence from material possession to enrichment of the human spirit, a fundamental shift Eleanor embraced, cultivating through each engagement an ethos far richer than any bank statement. Eleanor's narrative, woven with threads of depth rather than material fabrications, underscored the enduring lesson that one's worth and dignity are weighed not by the ledger of assets, but by the legacy of the heart. Every step Eleanor took marked a rebellion against the material expectations that defined her kin. Each choice asserted her independence, her self-affirmation, as a silent, enduring advocate for resilience and integrity. Her story was a call to those watching to see beyond the surface into the reservoir of moral and ethical values that truly constitute an enriched life. In defying a lifestyle void of enrichment but full of excess, Eleanor's quiet defiance held aloft the notion that dignity resides not in possessions but in possession of the self, a lesson harder yet richer than the fleeting gleam of temporary wealth. Her reflections became both a shield and a compass, guiding as she set sail for the richer shores of truly emancipated living. As the confrontation descended upon Eleanor like a whirlwind of sharp words and piercing accusations, her once uplifting family home twisted into a theater of betrayal and mutiny. The ease with which her son Robert had cast doubts upon her integrity was staggering. The disillusionment felt akin to shackles dragging her into an abyss of despair, usually reserved for familial strangers. The cruel irony that her life's efforts, carefully woven with quiet sacrifice and precise choices, were being unraveled by the very people she nurtured, set fire to her soul. Eleanor's silence amidst the din was intentional, a testament to her profound understanding that a moment of unhinged despair might undo the dignity of a lifetime. Her son's accusations of deceit hung heavy in the air like a noose poised to tighten around her reputation. His insidious suggestion that perhaps her mind was beginning to slip, that her decisions and ability to manage her affairs were suspect, was not just an insult. It was an insidious play for control, a condescending pat on the head masked as concern. The pungent aroma of betrayal was further compounded as each member of this group, bound by shared bloodlines, hurled insinuations with shocking ease. It declared open season on her character, her competence, her every choice under scrutiny as they probed for weakness, for the tiniest thread to pull and unravel her autonomy. Yet Eleanor was not unaware. Her gaze met Robert's, the very son who in his youth regarded her as a paragon of strength, now twisted into an instigator of doubt and discontent. Emotionally charged, she clung to reason, reminding her heart that frustration could not beget clarity. Still, Eleanor's resilience was tested in this crucible of emotional warfare, where familial ties became chains bearing the weight of expectation and greed. Her life's narrative, built on the grit and tenacity of a woman who refused to fold under the pressure of societal norms, now lay under siege by those who should have been her staunchest allies. The isolation grew a poison, seeping into the marrow of relationships she once trusted implicitly. If Eleanor had learned anything in her journey, it was that sometimes even those closest to her could become antagonists in disguise. Blood was indeed thicker than water, but it also had the potential to drown. As her son and kin sought to tear her spirit asunder, she realized the true nature of her familial bonds, the pervasive undercurrent of transactional relationships veiled as concern but driven by financial discord. Observers might wonder why Eleanor did not explode into a torrent of rightful indignation. They might question her tranquil demeanor amidst the chaos. Yet it was her choice, born out of necessity, to remain as tempests swirled around her. Bringing her son to see through the haze of his covetous desires required a strategy born of patience and persuasion rather than a public reckoning. For Eleanor, survival meant not succumbing to the immediate call for justice, but rather biding her time until emotions ebbed and the opportunity for rational discourse re-emerged. In quiet moments, Eleanor contemplated the heart-wrenching spectacle, understanding the fractures within her family were not born in an explosion of greed, but had begun as a crack, a seed long nurtured in unseen fissures of their collective psyche. The sense of betrayal was profound, no less painful than a dagger to the chest, yet it would not define her. Her solitude became less of a prison and more a necessary respite, her retreat a stage upon which to orchestrate her next move, unfurling her resolve not out of vindictiveness but clarity. She understood that confronting a family swept up by the maelstrom of avarice and envy required the reinforcement of will and judicious counsel. This chapter of betrayal would serve as the forge for renewed empowerment, where she would refine her strategies, her plans would form with the clarity forged in this crucible of family discord. As Eleanor looked inward, she knew the road ahead was fraught with trials, but she was not deterred. Far from seeking retribution, Eleanor chose a path of strategic defense, one where her wisdom would craft a shield for her legacy, and her actions would exemplify the mastery of quiet strength. In her sizable heart, weary but unbroken, a pulsating truth echoed, family may falter, yet her unyielding spirit, nurtured by integrity and grace, would remain unscathed. Eleanor's serene facade was under siege by the unrelenting torrent of demands from her family, each query laden with an expectation of compliance. The revelation of her wealth had initiated a relentless pursuit, one that left her breathless in its audacity. It was as if the walls of her once sacred abode had been breached by marauders, driven not by need or affection, but by a ravenous hunger that recognized no boundary. This insidious encroachment was indicative of a deeper rot seeping through the cracks in the family's foundation, widening fissures that had long remained hidden under the veneer of familial obligation. The emotional siege laid by her family was not a singular event but a series of confrontations, each more exacting than the last. Eleanor could sense the escalating tension, a simmering cauldron of collective resentment poised to spill over. Her respect and autonomy were stripped away with each demand. Her status as the matriarch was challenged by those seeking to rebrand her as merely a custodian of the fortune accountable to their mounting avarice. It was in this frenzied pitch that Eleanor reached the terminus of her endurance. In a cacophony of voices where reasoned discourse was drowned by the clamor of entitlement, Eleanor found her breaking point. Her patience, stretched to translucency, snapped like a brittle thread. The release was cathartic. A surge of long-repressed frustration erupted, not with the violence of a scream, but with the clarity and finality of a gale after the storm. The room fell silent, their greedy eyes wide with shock rather than shame, as Eleanor with a trembling hand drew a line irrevocably in the sand. With each hurtling word, Eleanor peeled back the facade of filial piety that had shackled her for years. She exposed their hypocrisy like a surgeon contrasting their sudden fervor for familial duty with their palpable absence during those years when illness and adversity were her only companions. Where were they, these fair-weather kin, when she bore the brunt of life's slings alone? Her voice, though steady, was a sharpened scalpel, cutting through the pretenses laid bare before her. A reckoning was upon them, and the truth was ugly to behold. Eleanor's rejection of their demands was not only an assertion of her autonomy, but a declaration of her self-worth intricately woven into the tapestry of her identity. Her resolve, tempered in the crucible of betrayal, was a burgeoning bud of independence destined to bloom under the light of newfound freedom. The subtlety of her empowerment was in the trajectory she adopted, a trajectory not restrained by the gravitational pull of their expectations, but buoyed by the unburdened wings of self-preservation. In asserting her autonomy, Eleanor severed the ties that bound her in subjugation. No longer a vessel for her family's unyielding importunities, she emerged from the thrall of their acquisitive chaos, luminous in resolve. Her rejection of their entitlement was not born of malice, but a discernment of necessity and a pivot from the peripheral to the essential. The horizon widened before her, an expanse unmarred by the shadows of bygone obligations. She envisioned a future not contingent on the shifting whims of familial allegiance, but constructed on bedrock principles of dignity and respect. Her cathartic outburst was more than a momentary release. It was an essential pivot, a seismic shift in her own life's narrative. By asserting her autonomy in that pivotal moment, Eleanor was not merely rejecting the demeaning value ascribed to her by those who claimed to care under the guise of blood ties. She was reinforcing her own narrative, one of resilience and self-validation. The visceral reality of her rejection left behind a void, not a chasm of guilt, but a space for renewal. Eleanor's journey through the mire of familial discord was not an ending but a prelude, a preparatory phase for the burgeoning path of liberation she was to tread. Unaccustomed to the raw expanse of honesty that she unleashed, her family was left grappling with the shambles of expectation disrupted. This upheaval, though tumultuous, paved the way for a reinvention of self grounded not in external validation, but in the unwavering strength at Eleanor's core. As the echoes of Eleanor's voice lingered within the walls of her home, a nascent peace filtered through, carrying with it the promise of an uncharted future shaped by her own hand. In the aftermath of her decisive confrontation, Eleanor retreats into solitude, seeking refuge from the brute force of family betrayal that had unraveled around her. The dream that once envisioned familial warmth had disintegrated into ash, but within this realm of isolation, an unexpected boon awaited her. It was amidst this quietude that an old friend Robert reached out, offering a lifeline woven from the threads of hope and authentic friendship. Their history and intricate tapestry of shared experiences and mutual respect had always been devoid of material expectations. Here lay the purity of their connection, untainted by envy or exploitation, unlike the ties she had grown weary of. Robert, with his soothing presence, extended a comforting hand, not as a rescuer swooping in to solve her struggles, but as a companion committed to walking alongside her as she navigated her new reality. His acceptance was unconditional, a rarity in a world where Eleanor had found support cloaked in ulterior motives. She began to understand the value of allies who appear not out of obligation but born from a genuine desire to uplift and support without strings attached. This rekindled friendship reminded Eleanor that humanity possesses the innate capacity for kindness and generosity, far from the transactional nature of her familial relations. It brought with it a balm for her tender wounds, allowing her a glimpse into the kind of relationship that exists beyond the familial, one that is profound and authentic, transcending superficial alliances. Through Robert's perspective, Eleanor found an enriched worldview. He encouraged her to step back and examine the dynamics that unfolded, highlighting not just the avarice and pettiness she had encountered, but also the opportunity for transformation that lay ahead. Together they embarked on conversations that meandered through past struggles and triumphant tales, uncovering resilience she had long harbored within. Robert offered her not only a mirror but a lens through which she could view her circumstances anew, transforming her isolation into empowerment. As the days turned into weeks, Eleanor embraced this new chapter with a burgeoning confidence. The narrative of her life was no longer defined by familial betrayal, but instead by the connections she chose to nurture. There was courage in acknowledging the families we choose, underscoring the profound realization that family is not bound by blood alone, but defined by supportive, understanding bonds that offer a safe harbor in the storm. These revelations took form in small but deliberate actions. She began to take control of her assets, ensuring that her future was safeguarded against the lingering threat of exploitation. Consulting with legal professionals, Eleanor put in place measures that fortified her independence, further distancing herself from the grasp of those who had once sought to bind her. Through Robert's steadfast presence, Eleanor discovered more than just solace. She found an anchor grounding her through tumult and change, enabling her to chart a course on her terms. It's an empowering truth that unexpected allies often enter our lives as a gentle reminder of resilience, a testament to humanity's capacity for goodwill. In the distance, a new horizon was forming, not dictated by the expectations of those who could not respect her autonomy, but shaped by the collective wisdom of past experiences and the compassionate support of individuals like Robert. Eleanor's friendship with him became a reminder that amidst treachery and deceit, genuine alliances exist, anchoring us through life's tempests. Eleanor embraced this newfound reality, fully aware that with every step she took, she moved closer to a life defined by dignity and self-respect. As she pondered her next moves, Eleanor knew each decision would contribute to not just her personal growth but serve as an inspiration to those grappling with similar battles. In Robert, she had found not just a friend but an ally, a beacon of what it means to truly understand and cherish another. Their bond fortified her resolve, paving the way for Eleanor to redefine what family means, rejecting toxic cycles and instead choosing nurturing relationships anchored in mutual respect and unwavering support. In the tapestry of her life, this unexpected ally was not just a thread, but the weaver, crafting a new reality filled with hope and limitless potential. Eleanor's tranquility was not meant to last. Navigating legal and emotional conflicts became Eleanor's new reality, as the tempest his family ignited over her assets morphed into something far stormier than she had initially anticipated. She drew on reserves of fortitude she scarcely knew she possessed. Fortified by her lawyer's strategic counsel, Eleanor launched headfirst into the fray, ensuring every move she made was underpinned by both legal prowess and emotional clarity. This wasn't just about money anymore, it was about reclaiming her narrative from those who would distort it. The months that followed were a lesson in endurance and adaptability, a brutal boot camp in the manipulation and veiled threats that often slithered from behind a familial facade. They were reminders of how loved ones could transform into adversaries when greed overcrowded bonds of kinship. Yet Eleanor's resilience only grew stronger, becoming a bulwark against the psychological warfare her family attempted to wage. She spent countless evenings combing through legal documents with tenacity, fueled by anger and conviction, determined that her future would be one of autonomy and integrity. Legal battles have a way of sapping one's spirit, but Eleanor shielded her soul from despair. She constructed a barricade not just of financial fortitude but of emotional resilience. Every legal challenge presented to her was an opportunity to reinforce her resolve. She learned to navigate this world of justice with the strategy of a chess master, always thinking several moves ahead. Eleanor's battle was not simply against a few misjudged relatives, but against a system that had long been tilted against those who dared to defy familial expectations. As this grit played out in boardrooms and courtrooms, a peculiar transformation occurred within Eleanor. She found herself slowly transforming from a victim into an architect of her own destiny. The lessons from the battleground of familial betrayal offered her more than a shield. They sharpened her instincts, refined her judgment, and rekindled an indomitable spirit that perhaps had lain dormant for too long. She began to view her fight as a larger statement against the insidiousness of elder financial abuse. Her battle became a beacon, illuminating the injustices that often simmer in the quiet corners of wealth and familial obligation. In the heat of these conflicts, reinforcements arrived from unexpected quarters. Her granddaughter Abigail, weary of the incessant avarice and manipulation, sought out Eleanor, the matriarch she remembered, not only as a rich woman but as a storehouse of stories, laughter, warmth, and wisdom. This act of rebellion was small, but it was genuine, a tender rebellion against the very core of her controlling family milieu. Abigail's presence infused Eleanor's campaign with renewed vigor, breathing life into a bleak landscape and signaling the possibility of reconciliation between generations. This reunion was no mere patching of a broken relationship, it was a rediscovery of authentic connections, one that transcends blood ties. Eleanor realized that within Abigail's choice lay the seeds of generational healing, a chance to break away from toxic cycles that had defined their family for too long. Together they crafted narratives stitched with honesty and stitched with hope, nurturing a relationship born not of obligation but of mutual recognition and love. The struggle was ongoing, and the outcome remained uncertain, yet in every skirmish Eleanor found small victories, each one a brick in the stronghold of her independence. Her journey, fraught with skirmishes and turmoil, was not isolated but rather echoed in the lives of countless others, a testament to the complexities of family, the struggles of autonomy, and the raw strength of human dignity. Eleanor's battle was emblematic, transcending the intricacies of personal vendetta to illuminate broader societal hustles over power, respect, and self-ownership. Her fortitude rippled beyond her immediate sphere, reaching out to others in similar predicaments, reminding them that liberation demands as much grit as grace. Eleanor's victories, both in legal standings and emotional recoveries, weren't just triumphs of one, they were for everyone who had ever felt overshadowed, undermined, or written off. Her narrative became a force of inspiration, a resounding assertion that no matter how intricate and multifaceted the turmoil, the pursuit of justice and dignity is always worth the battle. Thus, Eleanor stood unbroken and undeterred. In her life and the chaos it had been, she found purpose, mastering the art of battle while unearthing reserves of hope and endurance. Her narrative, an odyssey of liberation and legacy, continued to unfold, offering others a beacon of not just survival but triumph, not just independence but genuine empowerment in a world determined to label and limit. And in this newfound freedom, she wasn't just living, she was thriving, radiating a truth singular yet universal, a testament to the power of breaking free. Eleanor's story serves as a compelling narrative about perseverance amidst adversity and the relentless pursuit of justice, regardless of familial trespasses. As the revelation of her fortune sets the stage for her family's greedy machinations, Eleanor finds herself navigating a labyrinth of legal and emotional hurdles. Her journey, indicative of broader themes of elder financial abuse, showcases the need for vigilance and empowerment when one's rights and dignity are on the line. For her, the legal battles are as much a matter of principle as they are about practical necessity, ensuring that her wealth doesn't end up in the hands of those who see her as a means to financial gain, rather than a member of their lives deserving of love and respect. Eleanor understood that in such turbulent times, the key to self-preservation lay not just in the strength of one's will, but also in the breadth of one's knowledge. Her decision to engage a lawyer is neither born of spite nor distrust, but rather of a resolute commitment to securing her autonomy and assets. Her approach is measured, her actions deliberate as she maneuvers through complex family dynamics with legal dexterity and emotional shrewdness. Yet the emotional toll of seemingly endless familial confrontation cannot be understated. She finds herself ensnared in a web of false accusations, a pawn in her family's game of deceit, as they attempt to paint her as erratic and incapable. This narrative of manipulation and emotional blackmail echoes stories of countless others who find their autonomy questioned when they dare assert control. Beneath the surface lies a broader societal commentary on the manipulation of vulnerable individuals, particularly in familial settings where loyalties and affections are supposed to be unconditional. Eleanor's battle isn't confined to courtrooms or inheritance claims. It extends to the very fabric of her family structure, exposing hidden fissures and unmasking ugly truths. She encounters firsthand the darker shades of human nature as those she once held dear reveal their willingness to exploit her for personal gain. Indeed, Eleanor's narrative offers a powerful testament to the saying that blood isn't always thicker than water when greed taints the familial bond. In the face of this emotional onslaught, Eleanor's resilience is nothing short of heroic. She refuses to yield to despair or bitterness, choosing instead to forge a new path driven by a fierce sense of justice and self-respect. Her proactive stance, both legally and emotionally, serves as a reminder to others entangled in similar familial strife that they are neither alone nor powerless. Eleanor's indomitable spirit becomes a symbol of hope and defiance, encouraging others to take their stories out of the shadows and seek justice even when it seems most elusive. This arduous journey is not just a battle for personal redemption, but also for the principles she stands for: honesty, dignity, and self-worth. Her legal strategies and emotional fortitude are bound by a common thread: a refusal to succumb to the bullying tactics of those who perceive her as an easy target. In Eleanor's journey, one finds an inspiration rooted in grit and nerve, a powerful encouragement for anyone standing at a similar crossroad where the stakes are high but the pursuit of justice is imperative. As the dust begins to settle, Eleanor finds that her struggle is only a fragment of a larger movement against the misuse of power within family hierarchies. Her experiences resonate with a universal truth about the complexity of human relationships and the sometimes harsh reality of those we trust most. Despite the chaos and heartbreak, Eleanor's story emerges not as a cautionary tale, but as a clarion call for courage in standing against anyone, family included, who seeks to diminish one's rights for the sake of inheritance or control. Eleanor's triumph in navigating these murky waters of legal and emotional adversity sets a precedent. It implores an audience to re-examine their notions of family loyalty and personal responsibility, challenging them to support rather than exploit the vulnerable. Her story, vivid and unyielding, is a sobering reminder of the need for vigilance, not just in legal fineries but in personal dealings where respect must underlie every interaction. In Eleanor there breathes a spirit unchained, unyielding, both assured and inspirational. Her tale reflects more than just a singular pursuit for what is legally hers. It broadens into an exploration of psychological resilience against those who wield familial bonds as weapons. She stands as a beacon, illuminating the path for countless others who find themselves at the mercy of those they should most be able to trust. Her victory is a collective one, underscoring the powerful ripple effect of one woman's unflinching determination to reclaim her life and dignity from the clutches of manipulation. As Abigail steps into her grandmother Eleanor's cozy living room, the atmosphere feels thick with nostalgia and unspoken words. The young woman carries the weight of a family ensnared in greed and manipulation, but she also bears a spark of rebellion against the poison of family dynamics that has long contaminated her lineage. Abigail's decision to seek refuge with Eleanor is not simply a quest for safety from familial turbulence. It is a conscious choice to embrace love, truth, and understanding over deceitful motives. It is a choice marked by courage and foresight, a starting point for intergenerational healing that promises to break the toxic cycles that have lingered like an unwelcome shadow. Abigail has known the undercurrents of her family's dynamics from a young age. She's seen the masks they wear around money, the way conversations shift subtly yet perceptibly when inheritance and wealth enter the realm of discussion. She watched the metamorphosis of relatives from seemingly benign kin to territorial adversaries at the mere mention of Eleanor's fortune. So when Eleanor's silence shattered with the revelation of her wealth, it was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing colors and truths that were always present but never acknowledged. In the heart of her grandmother's embrace, Abigail discovers a sanctuary that transcends physical comfort. The unconditional love Eleanor shows her granddaughter contrasts starkly with the mercenary affection streaming from others in their family. Here is a space where Abigail can lay down pretensions and defenses, where she can explore her identity unfiltered by the avarice that taints every interaction in her family. It is a space of healing where Eleanor's wisdom and life's lessons pass effortlessly to a new generation thirsty for honesty and integrity. This reconnection not only deepens their bond but sets the stage for a broader redefinition of family within both their lives. Eleanor, seasoned by trials and empowered by her triumphs over manipulation, sees in her granddaughter the potential for change she had once only dared to dream possible. She sees the lineage of strength passing down, a testament to the resilience that has always underpinned the true nature of familial ties. Abigail's choice to align herself with her grandmother signifies a clear demarcation from a legacy bound to wealth and manipulation. Her presence introduces a sense of optimism and renewal, a beacon that speaks to the power of generational ties when forged in genuine bonds rather than financial expectation. In their conversations, quiet whispers shared over cups of tea and laughter that echoes in Eleanor's modest home, the essential teachings of Eleanor's journey are laid bare for Abigail. They speak of the traps of financial dependency, the sorrow of betrayal by loved ones, and the serendipity of finding true friends who encourage autonomy and strength. Abigail absorbs these lessons, shaping her understanding of the world around her and crafting a path divergent from the one her family has treaded. This journey is also one of reciprocity. For Eleanor, Abigail's choice to seek her out bears a potent message, one of validation, recognition that her choices to stand strong and reclaim her autonomy have transcended her personal narrative. It affirms that there are waves ever broadening from her initial stand against familial pressures. Eleanor's story is no longer just a tale of personal liberation, but a catalyst for change within her family, planting seeds of recognition and authenticity in the generation to come. As grandmother and granddaughter navigate these intimate exchanges, a reimagined family unit emerges, one built on pillars of mutual respect, support, and the resolute rejection of toxic and entitled behavior. The once fixed cycle of familial exploitation gives way to this relationship's gentle, transformative power. Here lies an example of how familial love, when nurtured with openness and understanding, can realign even the most entrenched legacies of deceit and greed. In this unexpected bond, there is an acknowledgement of the mistakes made by those before them and acceptance of the power each holds to pursue a different narrative. Eleanor becomes not just an inspiration but a guiding force, steering Abigail towards a future steeped in the values she has long championed but rarely witnessed within her family. As Abigail integrates these insights into her life, she ignites the first flicker of hope that can reshape familial bonds, not through inheritance or power but through integrity and undeniable love. Eleanor's journey into empowerment comes full circle, her life a testimony to stepping beyond survival into a life of thriving, offering now a protective embrace for a new generation to do the same. And so, in the unexpected refuge of Eleanor's loving presence, a new family story begins, one unchained from the past's burdens and brightened by the promise of authentic connection. Eleanor's resourceful decision stands as a testament to her unwavering resolve to redefine the meaning of family legacy. It was as if the weight of generations had been lifted from her shoulders, replaced with a lighter, purposeful engagement with the world outside her immediate kin. In a climate where material wealth often dictated familial ties, Eleanor chose a divergent path that was less about abundance and more about impact. She decided to channel her substantial resources into an educational foundation, crafting a legacy that mirrored her newfound values and aspirations. Her fortune, meticulously amassed through years of shrewd management and personal sacrifice, would now serve the larger societal good, fostering education and opportunity for others. This monumental step is not just a legal maneuver or a grand gesture removed from personal motives. It is a deeply personal and psychologically astute reaffirmation of control over her narrative. But perhaps the most salient aspect of Eleanor's decision lies in its transformative power, not only within the rooms filled with school children and young dreamers poised to benefit from this newfound endowment, but also within the confines of her own home. Choosing to invest in education, Eleanor communicates a powerful message to those who sought to control and manipulate her narrative that real power is exercised not in hoarding wealth, but in the meaningful dispersion of it. Here, the act of giving becomes a form of emotional revenge, a way of reclaiming and rechanneling energy away from familial dysfunction towards societal betterment. Imagine the irony. The same family members who underestimated her, dismissed her sacrifices, and quested after her wealth are now left to grapple with a decision that leaves them out of the equation altogether. In focusing her resources on education, Eleanor highlights the glaring contrast between transient familial loyalty and the enduring legacy of education, a catalyst for change that can outlast even the sturdiest financial portfolio. To understand the profundity of Eleanor's choice, consider the psychological underpinnings of altruistic behavior. Often seen as counterintuitive in a world that prizes self-preservation, altruism can be a potent tool for self-assertion. For Eleanor, this means redefining boundaries and repositioning herself within the family hierarchy on her terms. Her donation is not merely transactional. It rebukes the materialistic values held by those around her while aligning her financial clout with her ethical beliefs. The empowerment Eleanor derives from this act is palpable. No longer the passive matriarch resigned to a peripheral role in family gatherings, she becomes an agent of change, a figure of respect and authority, not just within her family but beyond it. The educational foundation becomes a tangible extension of her desires not just to escape the shackles of familial expectation, but to ensure a brighter future for innumerable others. This redirection of her efforts fills her life with a sense of fulfillment and renewed purpose. Moreover, at this juncture, Eleanor's life serves as an inspiring blueprint for those who have felt marginalized or suppressed by familial systems. Her story reveals the inexhaustible potential of harnessing adversity for growth and the unyielding spirit required to act upon one's convictions. Eleanor's decisive action challenges us to contemplate the possibilities that lie at the intersection of wealth, wisdom, and benevolence. The ripple effects of her contribution will not only reverberate through the lives of thousands of recipients, but also serve as a narrative catalyst for a paradigm shift within her community. If wealth had once been a divisive factor, now it becomes an inclusive force, creating a bridge to opportunities that empowers future generations. Eleanor's bold act of empowerment substantiates a legacy that transcends tangible assets. It underscores her autonomy and solidifies a future for herself and others, built on shared values rather than inherited riches. This profound self-awareness and introspection guide her toward leaving an imprint that far exceeds familial approval. The once intimate circles of her life now expand exponentially, reaching uncharted territories of empathy and growth, offering a sanctuary of learning and foundation for others to emerge into their potentials. In Eleanor's hands, wealth becomes a tool of transformation, catalyzing personal liberation and fostering social growth beyond familial ties. Her decision ripples through her life as a clarion call for redefining one's destiny in the context of authentic values. The light that emanates from this choice not only illumines Eleanor's path, but also serves as a beacon for others seeking a break from the past's weight to pave the path toward an enlightened future. The idea of family and community is meant to conjure warmth, a sense of belonging built upon shared history, and a future paved by collective dreams. For Eleanor, however, family meant shackles of expectation, a suffocating web woven tightly with strands of greed and materialism. Her decisive, transformative donation lay at the epicenter of this rupture, amplifying unspoken tensions and illuminating hidden motivations. In redefining her legacy away from the blood ties constricting her spirit, Eleanor grasped the pen to her destiny, a future undetermined by inheritance, but by intention. Eleanor's powerful act became the wake of her generational ship, steering through tumultuous familial waters toward the shores of self-empowerment. The once imposing shadows of obligation and doubt began to recede as a new narrative illuminated her path. Words whispered behind closed doors transformed into declarations of respect and admiration from the same society that had silently observed her struggle. In breaking free, Eleanor did more than just reclaim her narrative. She inspired others to consider how they, too, might navigate the crafted currents of societal expectations. As Eleanor looked back at the crumbling facades of what she once called home, a striking truth emerged. Strength and dignity are not bestowed by others' acceptance, nor can they be dictated by family name. They are forged in the fires of self-awareness and fueled by a dedication to living authentically. In recognizing this, Eleanor embraced a purpose far beyond what her family envisioned, a purpose reflecting who she had fought to become. Her wealth had served as a tangible indicator of success, yet now it stood as a testament to her autonomy and personal values, extending its impact well beyond her intimate sphere. Recognition from the educational foundation she contributed to followed swiftly and sincerely. Eleanor's actions had underscored the philosophic shift she championed, one that turns wealth into a vessel for shared growth rather than personal indulgence. Through this, Eleanor cemented her place not just as a benefactor, but as a harbinger of potential who chose enlightenment over entitlement. Her story powerfully resonates as a masterclass in liberation, challenging others to disentangle their self-worth from ungrateful familial structures and to define success on their own terms. Each testimonial letter she received held snippets of hope and gratitude, painting a clear picture of the ripple effect Eleanor unleashed. Society recognized her not merely as a wealthy benefactor but as a catalyst of change and empowerment. The foundation stood as a physical embodiment of educational access, symbolizing Eleanor's commitment to molding a world that valued knowledge and opportunity over possession. It reaffirmed all she held dear and validated her journey, a journey marked not by her family's demands, but by the beating heart of her convictions. As Eleanor's mission inspired others, it awakened a dormant strength within them as well. It became a clarion call for those who watched in silence, offering them a blueprint for their liberation. Eleanor's liberation was contagious, sparking an awakening in many that resonated beyond her immediate community. Her personal triumph redefined a paradigm, shifting the focus from familial approval to personal fulfillment. Her courage to break away stood as a testament to the human spirit's power to transcend biological confines and embrace the vast horizon beyond. The narrative of Eleanor's life reveals how personal transformation can reach across societal norms, unveiling the beauty of authenticity. It challenges each observer to pause and consider, might one's legacy truly be forged in breaking free rather than complying? Eleanor's testament of hope encourages viewers to rise above and redefine their worth without the validation of family approval. In casting off the chains of expectation, Eleanor does not merely inspire, she ignites a revolution of dignity, one that beckons those in the shadows to step into their light. For Eleanor, the societal recognition applauded not her wealth but the strength she harnessed to rewrite her story. Her journey becomes illustrative of what personal transformation stands for, shaping a brighter, more inclusive future by daring to defy the past. As Eleanor reclaims her narratives amidst applause, she models the compelling truth that each step toward personal liberation etches a path for collective progress. Through this lens, Eleanor's story extends far beyond personal legacy. It becomes interwoven with the very fabric of change itself. Eleanor's journey dissects the very essence of familial ties, casting a powerful light on the notions of love, respect, and connection. As she navigates the treacherous waters of betrayal, her story invites those entangled in similar webs to reassess what family truly signifies. It demands an introspection beyond blood, urging a reevaluation forged in shared values and genuine empathy over covetousness and insincerity. In a world where her kinship was once anchored by heritage and lineage, Eleanor dared to challenge the conventional mold. There's an invitation here, one that asks you to reconsider your own bonds. Are they built on mere biological coincidences or on profound understanding and compassion? Eleanor's narrative resonates like a clarion call awakening, an awareness that true connection transcends genetics, thriving instead on reciprocity and shared human experiences. Reflect upon the moments when you've experienced meaningful interactions, those rare connections where eyes convey more understanding than words ever could. These are the ties Eleanor now cherishes, the ones that flourish far from the shadow of entitlement and oblige. Her relationships burgeoning from mutual respect and support teach us about nurturing those who enrich our existence regardless of their familial status. As Eleanor redefines her family, the sincerity in her quest attracts kindred spirits like Abigail, her granddaughter, whose presence acts as a balm for Eleanor's soul. Abigail's choice to seek refuge with Eleanor exemplifies generational healing, a deliberate step away from the parched roots of avarice towards the fertile grounds of empathy and understanding. In converging paths, Eleanor and Abigail illustrate the potency of choosing allies aligned in spirit rather than in name alone. Consider this: what if liberation, rather than fealty to family tradition or obligation, guided our collective legacy? Eleanor's personal revolution inspires a ripple effect echoing through the disenchanted corridors of familial expectation inviting others to break free and weave legacies of their own making. As she stands defiant, unburdened by the shackles of materialistic strings, she ignites a revolution rooted in dignity. For Eleanor, love becomes an enduring force, grounded not in dependency, but in respect and authenticity. Her discernment separates superficial fidelity from unwavering support, mirrored in her bond with newfound friends and accomplices. These characters, brought into her life by choice rather than chance, reinforce the poignant truth that family, as Eleanor defines it, is indeed a matter of heart over heritage. As you traverse the nuances of your relationships, ponder Eleanor's bold deed. Her pursuit of defining family transforms not only her life but challenges a normalized construct. In stepping away from tradition, she reshapes perceptions and offers solace to many bound by similar constraints. Amidst her personal triumph, Eleanor's wealth now channels a profound purpose beyond personal enrichment. Her decision to contribute significantly to educational foundations reflects this metamorphosis into altruism, reinforcing the narrative that material wealth finds its true worth when aligned with community upliftment rather than familial greed. This choice exemplifies a legacy born from shared human progress, celebrating the essence of authentic contribution over hoarded riches. Eleanor's experience brings to light the opportunity to recalibrate one's life compass, define relationships through deliberate conscious choices rather than inherited obligations. Her triumph serves as both inspiration and guidepost for evolving notions of familial and communal bonds. In her defiance, she champions a redefined familial landscape, one where integrity over inheritance, empathy over expectation takes precedence. Eleanor's tale is more than a personal metamorphosis. It symbolizes a societal awakening, a journey from shadows into light, from hollow allegiances into profound loyalties. As her story unfolds with unyielding tenacity, she leaves an indelible impression, calling others to reflect upon their legacies and redefine them within a tapestry of respect, kindness, and unity. The narrative reveals how love and integrity create real family, challenging preconceived notions and urging a heartfelt pursuit of deeper connections. Eleanor's journey is a reminder of the potential for personal redefinition, encouraging the pursuit of relationships anchored in genuine affinity above all else. Eleanor's narrative is a tapestry of empowerment woven from threads of transformation and liberation. Her journey, one of realization and courage, has extended beyond personal metamorphosis into a formidable beacon of inspiration for countless women worldwide. In countless corners of the globe, her story of defiance against familial greed and her commitment to redefine relationships based on integrity and empathy has become a guiding star for many navigating similar tides of adversity. As Eleanor's choices transcend her own life and ripple into the lives of others, letters and testimonials pour in, each a testament to the reach of her courage. Women who once found themselves ensnared by the shackles of family expectations or constrained by narratives not of their own making see in Eleanor a mirror and a mentor. Her audacity to recalibrate life's compass and engage in an authentic quest for respect and genuine connection emboldens many to reclaim their dignity. In a world that often tries to dictate paths based on antiquated roles or outdated notions of loyalty, her resolve challenges them to take control, beginning with the stories they choose to tell about themselves. Consider Francesca, who once felt trapped under the oppressive weight of her family's legacy, a history fraught with transactions masquerading as familial bonds. Inspired by Eleanor, she began to see the power of choice, that she could decide where her loyalties lay, that she could forge a familial connection not dictated by blood, but by authenticity and compassion. The letter she sent to Eleanor speaks of a newfound freedom to be herself, to create a legacy of acceptance and understanding alongside those who genuinely supported and respected her. In the modern age, where the digital and physical intertwine seamlessly, such narratives spread with the speed of light. Online forums and communities buzz with conversations sparked by Eleanor's saga, providing spaces where women come together, share experiences, and draw strength from shared stories. Here, Eleanor isn't just a figure to be admired from a distance, she's a catalyst for change, inviting them into a narrative where their lives can be rewritten with bravery and self-determination as the new protagonists. Even more striking is how Eleanor's altruistic choice to channel her resources into educational foundations acts as both a literal and metaphorical investment in the future. Women who realize the potential for change within educational growth find themselves emboldened to pursue new directions, equipped with tools and knowledge previously out of reach. Her decision is a clarion call, a reality where resources fuel empowerment, where education dismantles cycles of dependency and enablement, fostering autonomy and resilience instead. In support of Eleanor, social organizations around the world have burgeoned their missions, ignited by the idea that systemic change is not dreamed, but enacted one individual story at a time. The testimonials continue echoing the sentiment that personal transformation not only reshapes one's own life, but influences the very fabric of society. The resonance of Eleanor's decision echoes across generations, a change led not by wealth but by the will to redefine inheritance beyond mere currency, to encompass values of integrity and respect. Many find that Eleanor's choices underpin a societal awakening that challenges the status quo. The tides of female empowerment swell larger, overpowering the constraints set by antiquated conventions. The simple act of sharing her story builds a collective narrative, creating a chorus where individual voices blend into a powerful, harmonious anthem for change. The cascading effect of Eleanor's saga reaffirms a universal truth: personal stories carry the weight to catalyze widespread societal transformation. The journey from discovering one's worth to demanding it becomes a blueprint others can follow, a torch lighting a path away from shadows into a world where true relationships are born of empathy rather than obligation. It isn't merely Eleanor's singular journey that resonates, but the collective awakening incited by her tenacity, weaving an enduring legacy of empowerment. Eleanor's saga thus transcends its own narrative borders, becoming a testament to the indefatigable spirit that resides within each individual awaiting liberation. Her story is a testimony to the transformative potential of courage, an ongoing narrative not of settling, but of rising, forging alliances of mutual respect, and creating communities bound not by convenience but by genuine intention. In this, Eleanor stands not alone but among a gathering of women inspired to pen their own stories of renewal and resurgence fostered by the enduring echoes of her bravery. Eleanor's journey into empowerment and autonomy is a testament to the resilience that lies within the human spirit, illustrating the capacity to rise above adversity and redefine one's life on one's own terms. Infused with financial independence, Eleanor stands not only as an emblem of newfound wealth, but as a figurehead of personal reinvention. Her partnership with Robert exemplifies a relationship founded on mutual respect and support, a relationship untainted by the shadows of material expectation or familial obligation. Their connection is an oasis of sincerity amidst the tumultuous backdrop of betrayal that once threatened to engulf her. In a landscape often eclipsed by manipulation and self-interest, Eleanor's transformation signifies the transformative power of defining one's path. Her life, now unshackled from the toxic bonds of an inherently demanding family, unfurls like a tapestry woven with the threads of integrity and authentic relationships. Eleanor thrives, but it is not merely financial independence that empowers her. It is the reclaiming of her voice and agency that propels her into a life brimming with purpose and intentionality. Such agency highlights the profound metamorphosis that often occurs when people detach their self-worth from the materialistic metrics imposed by others. Eleanor's liberation echoes a universal struggle, one that implores individuals to disentangle the insecurities fostered by past oppressors and to rediscover the sanctity of self-direction. Through trial and perseverance, she emerges as a beacon of hope, shedding light on the struggles of those yet to embark on the journey from victimhood to self-actualization. Eleanor's personal journey is enriched by her collaboration with Robert, a man whose respect for her intelligent leadership signals a profound departure from relationships constructed on utility rather than companionship. Their life together becomes a narrative exploration of what happens when two people forge a connection steeped in equality and shared values. It's a powerful reminder that finding a partner who respects individuality can be both grounding and liberating, an experience markedly absent when under the yoke of exploitative familial ties. This archetypal narrative serves as a touchstone for those who yearn for liberation from the familial cages built from expectations and entitlements. Empowerment becomes attainable not through the lens of revenge or resentment but through sovereignty and self-respect. The intricate process of claiming autonomy, as Eleanor demonstrates, involves a careful dismantling of past oppression and an unfurling of new chapters wherein personal agency reigns supreme. Eleanor's autonomy becomes a catalyst for those witnessing her ascent, a vivid illustration that life gains its richness and depth when defined by self-determined purpose and the courage to embrace true individuality. Her world, once colored by alienation and betrayal, sees a rebirth of potential, igniting a journey inward that uncovers resilience, strength, and the potential for boundless joy found in authentic relationships. The transformation of Eleanor's life narrative depicts more than a triumph over familial greed. It represents a seismic shift towards empowered living. Her story metamorphoses into an injunction to others, not as a dictation of vengeance, but as model of legal and emotional ascendancy, crafting plans free from the encumbrances of emotional entanglement. Therefore, Eleanor's tale becomes a more profound lesson in strategic perseverance, a masterclass in ensuring one's narrative reflects personal truths and aspirations. Through Eleanor, the transformative journey undertaken is no longer about seeking reparations from those who wronged her, but about revoking their ability to influence her identity and trajectory. It becomes clear that true liberation lies in the formation of a life abundant in love, authentic companionship, and respect, rather than in mere monetary retribution or familial validation. Thus, Eleanor's story is not simply about survival. It is about redefining success through the lens of personal growth and the elevation that follows from wielding self-respect. Her story evokes challenges and inspires as each individual touched by her narrative reflects on the nature of their own relationships, their sources of happiness, and their paths towards personal fulfillment. Today, Eleanor thrives not as a survivor of circumstances, but as the architect of her own richly defined life, inviting all with the courage to do likewise. And so the echoes of Eleanor's past, once tinged with notes of betrayal and alienation, now fade into a distant whisper. Her world has shifted not through loud proclamations or grandiose gestures, but through the quiet, deliberate reweaving of her existence. The pieces of her fragmented trust have settled, forming a mosaic of empowerment and serenity. Eleanor stands amidst the ruins of expectations and discovers something elemental: silence has become both her refuge and her reward. Her family's decline feels inevitable, like the slow, mournful descent of a forgotten leaf spiraling to the ground. Those who once clamored for her wealth find themselves isolated, caught in the web of their own making, a prison constructed with threads of greed and bitterness. The halls they walk echo softly with the unfulfilled desires of entitled hearts, their legacy now one of longing and misconnection. Once filled with bustling voices, these spaces are now emptied, carrying only the dull thud of consequences unheeded. Like a statue of quiet monumentality, Eleanor no longer seeks the validation of others, nor the clamor of vindication. Instead, her triumph is visible in the subtle shifts of her daily existence, a life now abundant with genuine laughter, authentic companionship, and moments of stillness that need no interruption. She is no longer a chess piece in a familial game, but a free spirit in her own open field, the architect of her rebirth. This is not merely a lesson in overcoming betrayal, but a testament to the power of transformative silence. Eleanor's freedom is silently profound, unraveled not in flamboyant victory, but in the comforting ordinary of self-ownership. You too find a reflection in her journey. If you were in Eleanor's shoes, standing against the gales of familial avarice and insincerity, would you have the patience to wait? Would you allow silence to sculpt your resolve? There in the mirror of her journey lies a question, one that beckons quietly yet persistently, dimly flickering like a distant lantern guiding you to your truths. Could you let the world's noise fade and trust in the quiet unfolding? Tread softly now, for Eleanor's path is illuminated by echoes of an enduring lesson. True liberation is not spoken, it is wielded through quiet dignity. Her narrative leaves a resonant whisper, one that defies the traditional ending of revenge unresolved. It is subtly magnificent. The testaments of her life remain untold, yet they ripple outward, inspiring without declaration, echoing without words. In the silent chambers of Eleanor's heart, forgiveness is the unlocked door, the creak that marks the passage from past to present, from torment to tranquility. Her footsteps echo lightly on the wooden floors of her home, where freedom graces her like a long-forgotten friend. Yes, it is quiet here. Filled with light, it is a sanctuary undisturbed by the clamorous demands of yesterday. This is the enduring symbol of her transformation, a light upon her retreating figure, casting long shadows that further confirm her arrival into a new dawn. She has transcended the earthly throes of familial conflict, stepped through the shadowy corridors of betrayal, and emerged into a realm where silence reigns. And in this space, she stands alone, yet profoundly connected to the essence of who she has become, an undaunted architect of her story. Now there is no need for loud conclusions or fanfare. The ending writes itself, whispered through every breath of Eleanor's newfound freedom. Such endings rise gently like a serene tide unfurling in faces turned towards hope. And so Eleanor's legacy lingers on the threshold, not as a shout, but as a quiet hymn, a sacred testament to the power of transformation through silence. Some endings are not loud. They are sacred,